James Davis has some questions.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, so PPE clearly has been an issue of concern to many over recent months, and I wondered where, Sir Simon, you feel that we are now in terms of the availability of PPE to NHS staff reliably, consistently, and also in terms of the type of PPE being consistent too. So where there's been fit testing for a particular type of mask, are NHS hospitals able to access sufficient quantity of those masks rather than different types each time? Thank you.
Thank you. And again, it may be that Amanda or Steve want to come in as well. But the straight answer to your question is, I think, as the Secretary of State said yesterday, and an interview that Lord Paul Dighton gave, the situation has improved dramatically over the course of recent times. And looking forward, not just over the next 3 months, but over into the winter period, I think the Department of Health team have increasing confidence that supply will be available on a predictable forward basis, rather than some of the more just-in-time approaches which have been in place while there's been this huge worldwide crunch on PPE supply and a massive spike in worldwide demand. But I don't know whether Amanda or Steve want to.
Yeah, so shall I come in? So I think it is absolutely the case that the supply lines are more secure now, and the distribution network, which of course has gone to a very large number of organisations compared to where it was at the start, obviously led with our support by DHSC, is in a much more secure and robust place. On your question on fit testing, which was a very specific question, so just to be clear, fit testing is the process that is used to ensure that the FFP3 masks, which are the masks used in those aerosol generating procedures and parts of organisations where AGPs are common, fit testing ensures that there is a good fit, the fit that is needed between the mask and the face. And it is absolutely the case that faces are different, and not every single type of mask fits as perfectly as we would like onto every individual face. So we are certainly doing work with government and with colleagues in NHSE now to ensure, now that supply is much more stable, to ensure that we are working with organisations to ensure that they get a range of different masks in different sizes and different makes where they need it, so that there is more flexibility in ensuring that individuals have a choice of the mask that fits absolutely the best. And of course, that reduces some of the failure rates when you do this fit test, but also that organisations who have a preference for a particular type of mask because their staff are used to it are able to be supplied with that. So that is absolutely a very important point you've raised, and it's work that we're doing as we speak.
Thank you. So clearly the situation as we talk now seems a lot better than it had been, but we face a couple of challenges as I see it. Firstly, the desire to increase up routine treatment in hospitals, which is going to require additional PPE. Also, the potential threat of a second peak and the challenges that this coming winter may throw at us. Are you happy that the supply of PPE will be able to keep up with both of those demands? So
I'm sure Amanda might want to come in, but I think as Simon has said, and as I've iterated, I think the forward look in terms of security of supply is in a better place than it was a few months ago. Much of the supply comes from the Far East, and of course, as their production lines, particularly in China, have got underway following their epidemic, supply has become more secure. There are more direct relationships with those factories now, but also supply is being ramped up in the UK through Lord Dayton. So there is a greater mix of suppliers. So I think we would all say, and of course, as you said, DH lead with our support, that we have got more confidence in the supplies looking forward. But clearly it's going to be important that we build up that PPE capacity so that if we do go into winter, and we all hope and plan that we don't get a second wave, but we obviously can't exclude that. So it is important that we get ahead in terms of the amount of PPE that's required.
Thank you. And Amanda Pritchard, there's obviously a cost involved with all this PPE. Who meets the cost of it, and how does it impact on provision of other services potentially if there is a large bill to meet?
Actually, if Amanda, do you want me to?
No, go on.
Go on that one.
Thank you. We better move on to Sarah.
Okay, PPE costs are being met directly by the Department of Health and Social Care, who are procuring them for the NHS.
Thank you.
Very
Thank
good.
you, James. Have you got any more, or can I move on to Sarah?
It was just to ask finally in terms of what you expect the functioning of hospitals to be, bearing in mind we have hot and cold zones, we have distancing required, we have potential limitations to PPE availability. So at what percentage of normal operation do you expect them to function? Amanda Pritchard.
Can say is that actually across the whole of the NHS, people, and I'm not just talking about hospitals, but primary care, community mental health, across the board, people are working incredibly hard to get back to as close as possible normal levels of activity. And for all the reasons we've discussed, that's because I think there's a real awareness of the need to get to a new normal, which does mean everybody can access the care that they require. What that means short term is I think we're very keen to continue the partnership arrangements with the independent sector, because that's providing some much needed additional capacity on top of normal NHS facilities. It means we've got a real task ahead of us to make sure we're supporting our workforce, because that's the kind of critical, if you can have all the facilities in the world, but if you haven't got the workforce, clearly we can't use them. And that we're also thinking really carefully about the things you've just talked about. How do we use technology most effectively to find different ways of accessing services? How do we make sure that those people who do need face-to-face care can access that safely? But at the moment, all of the effort is going into really trying to push that restoration journey, but recognising it's not straightforward.
Okay,
Thank you. Thanks.